The Encrypted Eulogy. Chapter 1. The Phantom's Echo. Electric tension filled the air as Zoe Eclipse Chen entered the UltraSec Cyber Conference's exhibition hall. Holographic displays flickered to life, showcasing cutting-edge digital security tech. The usual excitement was replaced by an undercurrent of shock and disbelief. Zoe's AR glasses booted, overlaying her vision with conference data. She blinked twice, dismissing it. Something felt off, her hacker instincts on high alert. "Did you hear?" A nearby voice caught her attention. "The Phantom, he's gone." Zoe froze. Rex, the Phantom Cipher, the legendary hacker who inspired her career, dead? Impossible. Suddenly the hall's screens flickered in unison. An obituary appeared, white text on black. Rex, the Phantom Cipher, aged 55, passed away unexpectedly. Zoe speed-read the text, noticing an odd formatting in the third paragraph. To most, a simple error. To Zoe, a clue. "Interesting, isn't it?" A smooth voice interrupted. Void, a notorious hacker, stood beside her, smirking. "The Phantom never did anything without reason. Even in death, he's playing games." Realizing others would soon notice, Zoe rushed to an unoccupied holo-terminal. Her fingers flew across the virtual keyboard, peeling away layers of complex encryption. Suddenly, a message emerged. "To those who seek the truth behind the code, a challenge awaits. My greatest secret lies hidden, a treasure for the worthy. Let the games begin." The conference erupted into chaos. Hackers scrambled to terminals, trying to replicate Zoe's discovery. Void's eyes locked on her, a mix of admiration and challenge in his gaze. As Zoe prepared to dive deeper into the Phantom's labyrinth, a thought nagged her. Why did this feel so tailored? Almost as if designed with her in mind. Shaking it off, she turned back to the terminal. The Phantom's final game had begun, and she intended to win. Chapter 2. Digital Deadlock. The news of the Phantom's hidden challenge spread through the conference like wildfire, igniting every conversation and digital display. Zoe found herself at the epicenter of a storm she'd unwittingly unleashed, her AR glasses buzzing with messages and requests from hackers she'd only known by their online handles. "Quite the stir you've caused, Eclipse," a silky voice cut through the digital chatter. Zoe turned to face Void, his sharp features highlighted by a nearby holographic display. "I'm impressed, but don't get too comfortable in the spotlight." Zoe's fingers twitched, instinctively seeking a keyboard. Instead, she met Void's piercing gaze. "This isn't about spotlight, Void. It's about solving the puzzle." "Oh, it's about so much more than that." Void leaned in, his voice low. "The Phantom's secret could reshape the entire digital landscape. Imagine the power." "Or the responsibility," Zoe interjected firmly. Void's laugh was cold. "Always the idealist, Eclipse. We'll see how long that lasts." As he walked away, Zoe noticed a woman watching their exchange intently. Her stance screamed government agent, though her attire blended with the crowd. Their eyes met briefly, sending a chill down Zoe's spine. The conference had descended into controlled chaos. Attendees huddled in groups, tapping furiously on tablets and muttering code. Excited chatter was punctuated by shouts of frustration or triumph. "Ladies and gentlemen, please!" A harried organizer tried to redirect people. "The AI ethics panel is starting in Hall C." His pleas were ignored. The Phantom's secret had eclipsed everything else. Zoe retreated to a quiet corner, her mind racing. She reopened the obituary, diving deeper into its digital architecture. Layers of encryption unfolded before her, each more intricate than the last. It was as if the Phantom had woven his entire legacy into this single document. As she worked, glimpses of the Phantom's past flickered in her AR display. A young Rex Cipher giving a TED talk on cryptography's future. Headlines about mysterious hacks exposing high-level corruption. Early internet forum posts where the Phantom first made his mark. "You were always 3 steps ahead, weren't you?" Zoe murmured, admiration and frustration mingling in her voice. She almost missed the subtle pattern hidden in the obituary's metadata. It was a location tag, pointing to an unmapped area of the conference center. Zoe's heart raced as she cross-referenced the location. It led to a service corridor, far from the main event spaces. She stood, stretching her stiff legs, and made her way towards the restricted area. As she walked, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The government agent? Void? or someone else entirely. The corridor leading to the off-limits area was deserted, the conference sounds fading behind her. Zoe approached a nondescript door, her AR glasses highlighting a hidden security panel. She took a deep breath, fingers hovering over the panel. Whatever lay beyond, she knew it would change everything. The real challenge was just beginning. "Okay, Phantom," she whispered, determination and excitement mixing in her voice. "Show me what you've got." Chapter 3: Shadows in the Code. Zoe's heart raced as she slipped into the restricted area. The carbon fiber door yielded to her custom-coded bypass algorithm, its biometric lock no match for her skills. Inside, cool air carried the faint hum of servers and the promise of secrets. The room was a maze of blinking lights and humming machinery. Holographic displays flickered to life, reacting to her presence. Zoe's AR glasses highlighted potential points of interest and security measures. "Impressive," a smooth voice cut through the ambient noise. "Not many could crack that lock so quickly." Zoe spun around, her hand instinctively reaching for her wrist device's panic button. A tall, well-dressed man stepped out from behind a server rack, dark eyes glinting with amusement and calculation. "Marco Valdez," he introduced himself with a shark-like grin. "But in certain circles I'm known as the Shark." Zoe tensed, recognizing the notorious cybercriminal. "Relax, little fish," Marco chuckled. "I'm not here to eat you, just curious about the Phantoms game. You've made quite a splash." "What do you want?" Zoe asked, her voice steady. Marco's smile widened. "Just a friendly warning. You're swimming in deep waters now. The Phantom's secret, it's caught the attention of some very big sharks. Be careful who you trust." Before Zoe could respond, Marco melted back into the shadows. She shook her head, refocusing on her task. A nearby console flared to life, presenting a holographic puzzle. As Zoe worked through the layers of security, she noticed something odd. The system's defenses seemed to adapt to her techniques. "As if it's learning from me," Zoe muttered, her fingers flying over the haptic interface. Each solution presented a new ethical dilemma. Zoe's choices shaped the path forward, the challenges becoming increasingly personalized. A notification pinged. Void had breached another layer of the Phantom's puzzle. He was catching up. Zoe gritted her teeth, pushing harder. The room pulsed with energy, challenges blurring together in a frantic race against time. "Miss Chen!" A crisp voice cut through her concentration. "A word, please." Agent Sarah Blackwood stood before her, government credentials displayed in AR. Her piercing gaze seemed to strip away Zoe's defenses. "You've made remarkable progress," Blackwood said, tone mixing admiration and suspicion. "I'm curious about your methods, and your motivations." Zoe chose her words carefully. "I'm just participating in the challenge, Agent Blackwood, like everyone else." "Are you?" Blackwood's eyebrow arched. "The Phantom's secret could have serious national security implications. We need to ensure it falls into the right hands." As Blackwood continued her subtle interrogation, Zoe's mind whirred. Government interest, criminal elements, the adaptive nature of the challenges. Something didn't add up. "Excuse me," a soft voice interrupted. An elderly man with kind eyes and a mischievous smile approached. "I couldn't help but overhear. You're making quite a name for yourself, young lady." There was something familiar about him. He spoke with intimate knowledge of the Phantom's work, offering insights that left both Zoe and Agent Blackwood stunned. As the man wandered off, Zoe's suspicions crystallized. The patterns in the challenges, the personalized ethical dilemmas, the uncanny encounters, it all pointed to one impossible conclusion. "The Phantom," Zoe whispered, her mind reeling. "He's still alive." She looked around with new eyes. Every face, every interaction now held potential hidden meanings. The true nature of the competition was unraveling, and Zoe found herself at the center of a mystery far deeper than she had imagined. As she turned back to the console, determined to push forward, Zoe couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, tested, and measured against some unknown standard. The shadows in the code were deepening, and she was diving in headfirst. Chapter 4: Encrypted Identities. Zoe's fingers flew across her holographic keyboard, her eyes darting between code lines and the bustling conference hall. The Phantom's challenge had transformed the ultra-sec cyber conference into a labyrinth of secrets, and Zoe felt watched at every turn. "Hey, Eclipse," a voice cut through her concentration. "Found any more breadcrumbs from our ghostly friend?" Zoe looked up, her AR glasses briefly projecting a shimmer of code before focusing on Void, who stood there with a calculating smirk. "Nothing I'd share with you," Zoe retorted, minimizing her work with a wrist flick. Void chuckled, taking a seat. "Come on, we're the front runners. Maybe it's time we pooled our resources." Zoe arched an eyebrow. "You want to work together? Since when does the Great Void play well with others?" "Since the Phantom turned this conference into his personal puzzle box," Void whispered. "I've hit a wall with the latest clue, something about quantum entanglement and ethics." Zoe hesitated, weighing her options. "Fine," she said finally, "but we share everything. No holding back." Void grinned, extending his hand. "Deal." As they shook hands, Zoe's AR glasses flashed a warning. A new clue had appeared in their very gesture. "You saw that too, didn't you?" Void's voice mixed awe and suspicion. Zoe nodded, already analysing the new data. The clue led them to a VR hub in the conference centre. Agent Blackwood lurked nearby, watching them. "After you," Void gestured towards the VR pods. Zoe stepped in, donning the headset. The world dissolved into a digital landscape of impossible code structures and data streams. A mountain of encrypted files loomed in the distance. "Welcome, challengers," a voice echoed. "Scale the mountain and retrieve the key at its peak. But beware, every step will have consequences in the real world. Choose wisely." As they climbed, they faced ethical dilemmas disguised as technical puzzles. Each solution affected the conference outside, lights flickering, schedules changing, security protocols shifting. Halfway up, Void made a choice that boosted them significantly, but potentially exposed a vulnerability in the conference's security. "What are you doing?" Zoe hissed. "Winning," Void replied simply. Zoe realized the trap. This wasn't collaboration, it was manipulation. She severed their virtual connection, sending Void tumbling down. "Sorry," she muttered. "I work alone." Near the summit, the challenges grew personal, testing Zoe's specific skills and ethics. It was as if the Phantom knew her intimately. At the peak, a key of pulsing light hovered. As Zoe reached for it, the world glitched. For a split second, she saw a figure watching her, eerily like the Phantom himself. The VR world dissolved. Zoe stumbled out, nearly colliding with an unfamiliar man. Something in his eyes struck a chord of recognition. "Congratulations," he said softly. "You've done well, Zoe, but the real challenge is yet to come." He melted into the crowd, leaving Zoe certain. The Phantom was alive and here, hiding in plain sight. Zoe plunged into the sea of attendees, following the ghost's trail. She pushed into restricted areas, her hacking skills opening locked doors. She was no longer just solving a puzzle. She was unraveling the Phantom's deception, determined to find the truth, no matter where it led her. Chapter 5. The Unmasking. Zoe's footsteps echoed through the empty corridor as she followed the digital breadcrumbs. The conference's bustling energy felt distant now, replaced by an eerie silence that raised the hairs on her neck. Her AR glasses flickered, projecting a faint blue line guiding her deeper into the conference centre. She halted before an unmarked door. Taking a deep breath, Zoe placed her hand on the cool metal. It slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a room bathed in the glow of holographic displays. "Welcome, Zoe Eclipse Chen," a synthesized voice greeted. "You've reached the final challenge." Zoe's eyes darted around, absorbing the complex array of data streams and encrypted messages dancing across the screens. This was it, the culmination of the Phantom's elaborate game. "Initialize final protocol," she commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surge. The room came alive. Holograms surrounded her, forming a virtual maze of code and riddles. Zoe's fingers flew across invisible keyboards as she navigated the digital labyrinth, her mind racing to connect the dots. As she delved deeper, the challenge's true nature emerged. It wasn't just about cracking codes or exploiting vulnerabilities. Each puzzle presented ethical dilemmas, testing not just her skills but her moral compass. "Integrity check initiated," the AI announced as Zoe completed another section. Hours blurred as she worked, her consciousness merged with the digital realm. Finally, with trembling fingers, Zoe input the last sequence. the holograms dissolved, replaced by a single floating document. Zoe's eyes widened at the title, The Ethical Hacker's Manifesto. "Congratulations, Miss Chen," a familiar voice said behind her. "You've passed the final test." Zoe whirled around, heart pounding. There, leaning against the doorframe with that enigmatic smile, stood Rex the Phantom Cipher, very much alive. "You!" Zoe gasped, anger and awe mixing in her voice. "But how? Why?" The Phantom stepped in, his piercing blue eyes fixed on Zoe. "The world of cybersecurity is at a crossroads. We needed someone who could navigate the challenges ahead, someone with not just the skills but the integrity to use them wisely." Zoe's mind raced, piecing together the elaborate deception. The conference, the challenges, your death, it was all a test. The Phantom nodded. "A necessary one. The power we wield in the digital realm comes with great responsibility. I needed to be sure my successor understood that." "Successor?" Zoe echoed, curiosity replacing anger. "The manifesto contains everything I've learned over decades. It's a roadmap for ethical hacking in an increasingly complex digital landscape." The Phantom's expression grew serious. "But knowledge alone isn't enough. The world needs someone to put these principles into action, to be a beacon for the next generation of hackers." Zoe's mind whirled with the implications. "And you think that's me? You've proven yourself not just technically proficient, but ethically grounded. You've shown creativity, resilience, and a strong moral compass." The Phantom extended his hand. "I'm offering you the chance to become my protégé, to shape the future of ethical hacking." Zoe stared at the offered hand, conflict raging within her. The opportunity was incredible, but the deception gnawed at her. "You manipulated everyone," she said, her voice hard. "You caused chaos, put people at risk. Was it worth it?" The Phantom's smile faded. "Every great change comes with a cost, Zoe. I had to be certain. But you're right to question it. That's exactly why you're the right choice." Zoe stepped back, her gaze moving between the Phantom and the glowing manifesto. The weight of the decision pressed down on her. Accept his offer and gain a mentor, but validate his methods. Or walk away, forging her own path with the knowledge she'd gained. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders as she made her choice. "I won't be your protégé," she said firmly. Disappointment flickered across the Phantom's face, but Zoe wasn't finished. "But I will be your partner," she continued. "Equal collaborators in shaping the future of ethical hacking. No more secrets, no more games. We do this in the open, leading by example." Silence filled the room. Then, slowly, the Phantom's face broke into a genuine smile. "I should have known you'd find a third option," he chuckled. "Very well, partner. Let's change the world." As they shook hands, Zoe felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. The path ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face it, not as the Phantom's successor, but as a force for change in her own right. The Encrypted Eulogy had been just the beginning. The real challenge, reshaping the landscape of ethical hacking, was only just beginning.